Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for chiming in with us here at IndyCar Ministry. We're going to continue this little journey through Luke as we are in Luke 5. Just an incredible moment. I don't know if you saw last week or not. Go back and check it out. We're getting to see kind of the entrance of what happens when God really awakens hearts. And so, really, right here in 5, what we see with Peter's life and what goes down is this awakening. Chuck talked about that last week of just this miracle happening in Peter's heart, this awakening. And an awakening, should lead to obedience, which leads to repentance, which, I'm sure Chuck will cover next week. But this week, I want to look at this big idea of obedience leads to abundance. Obedience leads to abundance. Now, I don't know if y'all are like me. When I hear that word obedience, I bristle because, well, I got a sinful nature and I just don't like to obey. If it's a speed limit, I'm going 5 or 10 over. I just struggle with that, but yet it's something that's so core to what it means to follow Jesus. And so we're going to pick up the story here in Luke 5. So, Luke 5, last week, Jesus jumped in Peter's boat, and after he was done, he's like, Peter, go out there and throw out for a catch. Now, obviously, Peter's a fisherman. They ain't caught anything all night. Peter's probably thinking, dude, you're crazy. We didn't catch anything all night. But hey, I'm going to do what you say. And so that's kind of where Chuck landed last week with at your word. At your word. But at your word, I will let down the nets. And so Peter goes out, he lets down the nets. And so we're going to pick it up in verse 6, where Luke writes, and when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners in the other boats to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so that they began to sink. So essentially, okay, they toiled all night, worked hard all night. I've never been a fisherman, but living by the ocean, I see them out there all the time. No thanks. That's probably not my jam. But they've been out there working all night. They ain't caught nothing. They come in, Jesus jumps in a boat, preaches a sermon, and then looks at Peter and is like, hey, go out, throw your nets. A little something out there for you. Like, Peter's probably looking at this whole situation like, dude, you're crazy, but I'm going to do it. So he goes out there, and what we see right here is they caught enough fish, it filled both the boats. There's this abundance. Like, there's this abundance that's beyond what Peter could have even imagined. I mean, imagine what was going through Peter's mind when he's like, okay, I'll go, turns the boats around to go out. He's probably thinking, why am I doing this? This is crazy. We were out here all night and didn't catch anything. Why are we going to catch something now? Do you think the fish are just going to show up? Like, I can imagine the wrestling match going through Peter's mind, which is normal when it comes to obedience. When God asks us to do things, it's normal to have a wrestling match in your mind. Like, why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? In fact, a good way to know if God's calling you to something is if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because that's what it means to be obedient to the one that is in control, the one that is in charge, the one that has an incredible plan. That is one of the most amazing things about God. He's a God of abundance. We see it right here. He didn't just throw Peter a couple of fish, he filled up his boats. And one thing we'll see on down, and you come to realize, like, he filled the boats, they cashed out and started following Jesus. Spoiler alert, that's to come. But here we are right now. I want to leave you with this, that obedience leads to abundance. Obedience leads to abundance. And so I don't know what that looks like in your life. What is God asking of you that just frankly doesn't make sense? Or maybe he's not asking anything of you and you want him to. Seek that out. God, what are you asking me to be obedient in? And one way to look at it is through your time, your talent, and your treasures. Those are the three things we have: our time, our talent, and our treasures. Is God asking you to be obedient to serving someone else? Your treasures. Is God asking you to give? Honestly, that's an area I'm passionate about because I have seen God's faithfulness. And through just watching giving myself, just watching God move through that is phenomenal because the abundance that comes from it is incredible. And this isn't a God's going to make you rich kind of abundance. This is, man, God is Lord of all, and it's amazing what he can do with our little. And I'll be honest with you, that's the season of life I'm in right now. I don't know if you saw last week, I'm grateful I will be now full-time with IndyCar Ministry as their director, and I couldn't be more grateful for it, but I'll be honest with you, I'm scared to death. I'm leaving the comforts of a massive mega church in Florida with a paycheck that comes each and every week, that there's a comfort and a security with that, to stepping out in faith to lead a 50c3 that's reliant on donations. It's all non-for-profit. But you know what? I know God's asking me to do that. I want to be obedient to what He's asking, and I know His abundance will follow. Um, faith isn't always easy, but I think when God's calling us to it, He'll see us through it. And so, beyond thankful for this season, I'm stepping in obedience and trusting in God's abundance. And so, what does that look like for your life? Maybe it's something small, but you know what? It's a step. What does that look like for you? To step in obedience and see His abundance. Anyway, y'all, hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with us this week. We look forward to seeing you back next week.